Hello and welcome to a fresh new podcast. Uh, this is being done all of a sudden, and without much ado, let's start talking about the topic that we have been talking about for so many weeks now, death. So, my first question to you is death means different things to different people. How do you view death?
I feel like death is nothing more than uh, a change of form, really. There's, yeah, it's just a change of form. It's nothing more than that, and it's like graduating, also in a way, where you're in school and you're done with school. You've learned something there, and when you've learned what you want to learn or what you have to learn there, you need to graduate. And and once the learning is done, it makes no sense to stay in the school for another day. So it's done, then you have to graduate to move to either a higher school or for a new learning, basically. So yeah, it's somewhat like that. It's change of form. It's uh, your graduation day.
Okay. Is it that cut and dry? What about the emotional connect with the learning, the other students, if I were to use your terminology? Uh, the ignorance bit as well, again, because we are not all knowledgeable to understand this aspect of easily moving on. Uh,
The thing is, now I feel like, of course, there is a lot of emotional connect with people around you, and everyone who's been a part of this journey that you have been, uh, you know. Uh, but at the same time, I feel like there is, uh, it's more of, how do you say it? Mm, so, in a way, you never really move on. It's all circles in a way. So the thing is, if you've met someone and that person has been important enough in life for you, or you have been important enough in their life, uh, most probably you've met before. And uh, death does, I don't think death would seize that meeting, you know.
hmm,
Uh, you you will meet them again, in a sense, because it's all circles. Like, there will be different forms of meeting there, uh, there are two aspects to this. One is the pure, just uh, level of understanding, or just a very plain level of understanding, which is a very straightforward. I don't want to use the word, because there is, I don't want to undermine any understanding. All understandings are understandings, but
hmm,
uh, in general, like, you can meet someone who is no longer with you through various ways, through memories, as the first thing, really,
okay.
uh, secondly, everything that you've learned from that person or you've taken from that person.
Hmm,
Every person who has played a significant part in your life will have given you a lot to brood upon, over time,
hmm.
or think upon, or uh,
All
even in terms of actions or your responses, that impact always remains. And I say this from quite a personal experience. Like, I know that people who've mattered to me and who are no longer here are in my actions always present.
So is this only soothing,
It's
or
like,
sometimes does it also hurt?
oh, it hurts. It hurts. The thing is, see, emotions in a way, this does it soothe me, or does it give me pleasure, or does it uh, give me pain? These are very uh, momentary things. I would like to look beyond that, really. Of course, like at some point, if I'm missing someone for a brief moment, I do feel pain or a little sad. Uh, but that's a very momentary thing. I would like to go beyond that in a way that uh, there is history attached to all of our actions. Like every single action or reaction that I will have to anything will come from a generations of uh, history, behavioral patterns, genes, all of that. You know,
This is interesting because you are actually
of my
saying,
great grandfather.
yeah, please continue.
I didn't catch that.
I'm saying, please continue. You were saying something.
I didn't catch after interesting.
I was saying,
Like for example, the other day, yeah, yeah, I want you to complete actually.
yeah. So I was saying the same thing. I find it interesting that you've gone beyond the uh, momentary passions that overtake us, be it grief or sometimes even relief. Like I've had some experience with relations who passed away after long ailments. So sometimes it's also a sense of relief
Yeah,
that they are now, you know, done and dusted with their trials and tribulations about that.
yeah,
Uh, but
yeah,
I like the take that you've given. Like we are uh, a very famous line is we are all stardust, uh, because
yeah. So I would like to go back to this incident
please, please.
I posted a picture of my great grandfather, somebody who I haven't met or seen. Okay. Uh, Sorry, not my great grandfather, my grandfather. I have met him and I absolutely love him. Uh,
Hmm.
Now, this picture is of him in his, I'm guessing maybe like late 20s or something like that. Probably, I don't think he's in his 30s in that photograph. Maybe late 20s.
Hmm.
And there is like even when I saw my grandfather, he was already in his 60s, from what I remember, and he went on. I mean, he passed away in his maybe at 75, 76, something like that.
Hmm.
So I knew him in that age of his, where I did not really think that we look alike or things like that. Of course, I loved him. I love him, and we shared a really nice rapport even, and he used to take us everywhere, and all these grandfatherly things, and all like beautiful, all of that.
Yeah.
But when I saw this picture, I had such a distinct connection suddenly, and I didn't understand what it was. I really didn't understand what it was. I looked at that picture. First of all, uh, there was a note written behind which
Hmm.
said that he had developed and printed it by himself. Okay.
Yeah.
Now, this is something that I have been pursuing, and no one else in my, or even he wasn't a photographer really. First, he did photography as a hobby. Uh, and suddenly, when I saw this developed and printed by self, I was like, maybe I am doing something right, like there's always this question that pops up in my head that no one is doing this around me. I'm the only one probably in the family who is doing things like this, and uh, then I see this picture and I go like, wow, okay, like I'm not completely out of the blue coming and doing this. It's been there somewhere. So that's what I'm saying, that you never really die. You leave behind so many things. Like, how did this come to me? It has to come from somewhere. Then there was, of course, like the people, the first few comments that I got were, you have the absolute same eyes.
Hmm.
Like, biologically, there is so much that is in me that comes from him.
True.
Okay. And then, of course, there's my father. So if I see pictures of my father, or uh, more than pictures, what I would say, think is, uh, in my daily actions or the way I lead my life, so, and sometimes it feels like, you ask me, does it feel like, does it hurt you sometimes? It hurts me sometimes in a way that I wish some things were different about all of us, how we react differently to situations. But as death, I feel like I have moved on from this momentary thing that, oh, this person is not going to be around me anymore ever. You know, this ever is what we think, really. Uh, but in reality, so, I was telling this friend of mine, who's like my closest friend, person, whatever, all that. And I was telling, her that, like, I wish my father had not passed away so soon, or, uh, my father passed away last year, okay?
Okay.
And the thing is, around that time, there was a lot that was going on with me also on various levels, and I was nearly ready to tell him things that I was very, very uncomfortable telling him, okay?
Hmm.
Uh, and I thought I was really very close to that. Like, I was this, planning that, okay, just these two, three things I have to do, and then I'm going to go and tell my father all these things, and then I'm just going to feel okay. This was my plan, and literally, there was no time. I mean, there was nothing, and he was no longer there. There was not even like a fever that gave any sort of
Indication.
advance notice. There was zero advance notice. I had met him a few hours back, and
Hmm.
so, like, suddenly I had this whole. It's like the sky falling on you. That, my God, like, how, like, I was so close to telling him things that I really wanted to tell him. And this is not like, oh, I love you and all that. Those are understood things, okay? Those are understood things. These are much beyond that. These were concerning life, my life.
Hmm.
So I was like, okay, like, now what? Like, I really wanted to share all these things with him and possibly get his help in some sort of uh, re-evaluation or things like that. But no, he is no longer there. Now, what do you do? And Of course, like I'm not saying it takes time. I still sometimes feel like it's going to take time for me to complete. I will never completely be fine with, or get over this passing away of my father. It's just not possible. I'm not even expecting that. Okay, but over time, what happened is uh, I started having much more conversation with my father in my head than I had ever had.
Hmm.
Right? And then in a few months, I told this same friend that, like, there were, and we were actually, in a joking way talking to each other. And we said, I told her that, like earlier, I used to be able to, or I used to hide things from my father, that where I go or whatever. These small things that, oh, you just don't tell everything, to your father. It's not how it goes. You have to not tell some things. But now I cannot, like, there is nothing that he won't know.
Hmm. So you're saying it's a mental experience rather than just being stuck to form of a certain kind.
So exactly, like, uh, it's a little weird though. Like, there is nothing that uh, stops me from accessing or having access to my father now. It's really weird. This might not sound correct even, but it's actually true. Like, there is nothing that stops me from being connected to my father now. And earlier there were things, because what would he say, or what, I don't know. There are different pressures, man. Like, you know what I mean, right? You
Yeah.
have. I don't need to be careful with him anymore. He can know everything now.
Yeah. Can I interrupt you here? I want to make 2 points.
Yeah, please.
Uh, the first point I want to make is what I find most beautiful is that you are talking about our human body as an embodiment of uh, a lot of thoughts, feelings, actions, uh, or what I mentioned, stardust, memories, whatever you want to call them. All of it constitutes what we are today. And
Yeah,
because it has a certain form and it goes out away after a certain time, we need not get stuck to the form, because the greatness of life or the greatness of this embodiment continues in various ways, and which you directly, now that I realize while talking to you, it also connects back to what you just said last, which is a point I wanted to make about people whom you love really don't ever go away, because you have not connected in terms of looks and money and social status, or even thoughts for that matter. Sometimes family members can have absolutely different thoughts about the same ideas. You are just
yeah,
connected, and that connection continues.
yeah. Exactly. It actually continues, and like I said, like, you've most probably met them before, and you will most probably meet them again.
Yeah, yeah.
So,
So
that's not a. I mean, it's difficult to accept. I completely get it. Absolutely get that it's difficult to accept this sudden physical form that is no longer going to be around. And especially, it's since we are talking about death, and this has to be an open conversation. It's when you see a person close to you on that thing, lifeless. It's not nice. It's really not nice.
yeah,
Like, it's you've never seen them that lifeless, and then people also, like, people around will come and say that, oh, he's he's looking so peaceful and all of that. But you don't hear all this. I know if you're, it's all background noise when you're standing there next to this person. So it's really tough. But that's why it's more important to see beyond this physical form.
Mm.
It's really also funny that uh, funny and sad.
Mm.
Uh, like there are things that you start forgetting about people. Uh, like I mean, it's been only or little more than a year since my father passed away, but I can I there are certain things that I tend to forget sometimes a little bit. Like for example, his photograph, okay, in the house, uh, is without his specs, and we, on the day that he passed away, we needed a picture of him to, have it in a frame for all the things, the rituals that were to follow, and all of that. And uh, the picture that was readily there was this one, which was like a passport photograph, but taken without his glasses, for
Mm.
I don't know, maybe to avoid reflections or whatever. But like and framed and got it home within the next couple of hours. All that happened, but that when I saw that photograph, I was like, "This is not the right photograph. This is not how he looked. He needs to wear glasses." You know, and but now I have gotten so used to that I don't remember him with glasses. I mean, I do remember him with glasses, but like I don't remember. I mean, I even have his glasses, so it's not like I don't remember the glasses or anything of that sort. But it's just weird. Like I can't picture him. My in my head, that is the picture,
Yeah.
or some uh, features, or his voice, for example. I clearly remember his voice, but when I think about this glasses incident, I don't know if I'm so sure of that. How
Mhm.
what I think that he sounded is
Yeah.
exactly how he sounded.
Uh,
So these are, and this is going to happen. This is going to happen absolutely. But and that's why it's better to not get stuck in this whole, and also the pressure of remembering things. Like that's the worst. You should never fall into that. Like my father, my grandfather passed away, and then a few years later, my father, you know, his sister called him up, and or there was some at some family function, there was this topic of my grandfather, and how he passed away and when he passed away, and all that. And my father absolutely did not remember the date when my grandfather passed away. Like he had no idea when he passed away. Like the date, I mean. Uh, and then everyone was like, "How do you not remember the date of your father of your father passing away?" And he had such a logical explanation to this, that he said that the date of him passing away has such less significance to him that it's not possible to remember that date, because because he said that I clearly remember his birth date. I remember my entire life that I spent with him, and then there is this one day where he passed away, uh, and you want me to remember that date? Why? Like it's just not important enough for me. This is what he had said that day. And I was like, initially I was like, wow, come on, like obviously it's important. But I see that happening also a little bit sometimes, I like uh I keep thinking, oh, like how long has it been actually? Has it been 1 year? Has it been 2 years? And plus we have this whole COVID situation happening, which is like I have no idea of time anyway. Uh, yeah, like I have like
I want you to pause here.
really like
I have a question here for you.
sure.
Uh, I personally also find that without understanding the concept of death, uh, life does not get uh, its due significance and meaning.
Yeah,
Uh, because there is a certain end to things, like your first example where you said school has to end and then you go to college. So there is both. There is memories of school are very sweet, but college is a different learning experience. You grow up, you learn things. You go without uniform most often, and then you learn what it is to discover your own friends, your own learning skills, your own leanings in terms of career paths, so many things. So,
right.
do you think that these uh, intensely personal story and stories that you shared with us in the last uh, 3 to 5 to 7 minutes uh, are not really personal in the sense of just they may be anecdotal. I agree, but they cover
Hmm.
a lot of ground in terms of uh, where does life draw meaning from, and are you actually saying experiences and the feeling that a person gives us is far more important to retain in terms of be it values that you live by, be it the words that you speak, be it the way you behave with the society at large, be it your own inclinations about being a good person, quote unquote. Obviously, everybody's idea of good may differ, but being the right kind of person or being a successful person or whatever it is. So, some things that keep living on because you are living right, unlike just sitting and using dates of date of death and great big event. Actually, life may not really be about the big events as much as we think. Do you think that is the point?
The thing is, I want people. I want myself as well as people around me to look beyond death as this tragic thing. Okay.
Hmm.
Now this is all easier said than done. When the time comes that I am actually in that position, uh, it's I won't probably you know maybe I'll lose this track. Okay. But the thing is, in general, I feel like uh, it's important to move past this whole looking at death as one big tragic event, because it's probably not like uh, again, like I keep coming back to my father's examples because that is the closest thing that I've seen, and from that experience I can learn a lot and probably expand that to a more generalized thought. So like like his birthday, I've been wanting to celebrate it still, like, and not in a way that I don't want his photograph anywhere and then all that, nothing. He just like call people and have a good time because he would have done the same, you know uh yeah, like I didn't understand the question actually, it was too long.
No, I think you kind of put it in the right place. You again are continuing in the spirit of celebrating life with what is living,
Yeah.
what is living within us of the people who have moved on.
Yeah.
So there are so many things. Also, one offbeat thing that just came to me yesterday or day before, someone close to me passed away, and I was because that person was ailing. I had tried a lot of things so that uh, she was at ease as much as possible,
Mm. Mm.
and the falls would not happen, or certain problems that the disease was bringing, I could ease it as much as possible with whatever I could in terms of effort, in terms of physical or mental help, or
Yeah.
but the idea that when it happened, when the actual going away happened,
Mm.
I had absolutely zero control over the situation. And I was
Right.
amused at the thought of trying to save somebody from from the little things, while the big thing actually is has never been in my hand.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it kind of, instead of feeling bad about it, I felt it was just right at in a
Yeah.
manner where it taught me the limit of my doing, and yet it forced me to think whether what I did was right. And I was happy to note that yes, that is the way to go about this. You are always celebrating life. You are always safeguarding it. You are always cherishing it. So the
Yeah.
onus lies on us, people who are alive, to continue doing that and celebrate it. Like I like what you said,
Absolutely.
the celebration of your
Absolutely.
dad's life. I personally am not a person who likes birthdays, but
There are these
I like what you
letters,
said.
and there are so many letters. Like, we've stopped writing letters to
Hmm. Yeah.
even. I mean, we stopped writing letters because we got email, but we don't email either. So, uh, but then I saw these immense collection of letters that my father had written to my mother, or his grandfather had written to him, and his grandfather had written to his father, or things like that. Just lot of letters like written, and nothing to do with work, just normal communication. And in one of these letters that his grandfather, so my great grandfather had written to him, uh, the language that he's used,
Hmm.
it's I hear that language in me even, you know, like he's, yeah, really. And my great grandfather, I've not seen my great grandfather, and but the way he's written, the way he's put down his thoughts, there are lines like, I have opened my heart to you when you were here. Like, uh,
Right.
I was like, wow, like I just want to know that conversation, and I have had this same situation with my grandfather at some point, where he he had sat, we were sitting and just talking, and I was a kid that time, so there's nothing. I don't know if we had what conversation we had, but I do remember of really talking a lot to him. Uh, so this whole thing continues. There's no, you don't lose anyone as such.
Yeah. I think we've had a wonderful conversation so far in terms of several little points that you made. Above all, this is absolutely different as all the conversations have been from each other, but this has really gone on a tangential, uh, lovely tangent, if I were to call it, because whenever one speaks of that, there is this sense of morose, morbid way of looking at things. But with
Yeah.
you, I think this whole conversation has been
You know,
grounded.
one last thing that I would really like to say is
Please.
that, as you know, we've always heard this thing, of in cinema or in books or in story tales, when to children, all of that.
Hmm.
What happens when somebody dies? Oh, they become a star. This is, everyone hears this, everyone has heard this,
Yeah, yeah,
and if you think about it, it's just pointing out that there is a greater universe. We are all part of a greater universe.
hmm.
The idea that someone becomes a star is probably that we are part of a very large picture. So no one is lost. They've actually, it's a big cosmos where you will see them again. You will meet them again.
Yeah,
Like, it's so simple. Like, to a child, what would you say, right? Just look up, like he's there, like there's a new
yeah.
star there, or whatever, like. But
Beautiful.
think about it, like, it's fucking huge, this
Yeah,
whole thing. Like, we can't, like.
yeah. I think scientifically also the amount of energy in the universe never changes. So it keeps coming in
Yeah.
different forms. So again, that also points out to a greater truth. Uh, Beautiful. Thank you so much for your time
Huh.
and
This was really nice, very spontaneous though.
yeah,
I had not expected this call to happen right now.
yeah. Okay.
That's nice.
See you around. Bye.